The performative art installation Is a Rose uses plants as natural interfaces in order to establish a direct relation between natural and technological systems. The installation is used to visualize digital physical interaction that is not necessarily explicit, triggered by touch or air movement, by direct and non-direct manipulation, visualizing the sum of all interactions during the course of one day. The technical realization consists of detection of the movement of plants caused by the movements around them and the following deformation of a computer-generated sphere. The paper we present is explaining several different layers of meanings the artist was motivated by when developing the artwork. We are presenting Is a Rose, a performative art installation at the intersection of contemporary dance and contemporary art, created by the artist Charlotte Triebus and an interdisciplinary team. The artwork poses questions of who is an agent and who owns agency from an artistic point of view, focusing on the interaction of different types of agents and exploring the intersection of art and science. The work combines tangible interaction and body-centered interaction without touch, referring to both moving bodies and nature's strategies, where communication between species, in this case humans and plants, is driven by subtle expressions abilities.
The interactive performative installation Is a Rose consists of a circle of 9 hanging plants, the roots of which grow in a ball of moss, a low-resolution LED screen, and a tracking system utilizing an Azure Kinect and a small computer, which are placed outside of the visitor's field of view. The computer runs the tracking software, which detects movements of the visitors through their impact on the leaves of the hanging plants. Asparagus plumosus was chosen as preferred plant due to its fine structure, which enables the visual manifestation of tiniest movements. The plants hang from the ceiling on 3 thin nylon cords each, which quickly bring the plant back to its initial position after its movement. The mounting consists of 27 transparent cords that are very light and are subtly reflecting light when moving around the installation. The interaction with the plants caused either by direct touch or indirect breeze of air is captured as a seismographic impression of the plants and is displayed on a 1.5 times 1.5 square meter LED screen with a resolution of 180 times 180 pixels. The screen shows an interactive computer-generated 3-dimensional wet sphere that rotates clockwise around the y-axis with a constant speed of 5 turns per minute. When a visitor interacts with the plant directly or indirectly, the shape of the sphere is modulated in a subtle way.
The animation shows each impact in real time, using different means of deformation, such as growing, notching, and tilting. The intensity of the impact corresponds to the interaction caused by breeze or touch. However, the exact location of the transformation is not selectable, and every subsequent interaction is affecting the previous ones. All impressions received by the plants add up over a day as a unified interaction and manifest themselves in the shape of a unique daily object shown on the screen. In this way, the resulting graphics show the interaction of both intended and unintended interactions of the visitors and thus represent a temporal, spatial, living representation of a non-repeatable constellation. The artwork of Is a Rose alludes to several layers of philosophical and sociological discourse. Among them, the discourse of performativity in relation to agency, as well as the related questioning of the traditional dichotomy of nature and culture. The human ability to perceive and express takes place in a human's distinct range of senses. However, it does not deny a different, unique way of perceiving to another species. Other than understanding a tangible interaction as a direct, physical manipulation of the plants, the artist states with the installation that successful, tangible interaction can be taking place through other means than touch. Movement of multiple people in the space causing streams of air or even a direct blow towards the plant creates an equally valid impact in terms of interaction. This is finally reflected in the visual transformation of the sphere, which is equally affected by both direct and indirect touch. Furthermore, by referring to it as a dance piece, the artist draws attention to the fact that the piece looks for performing bodies as its formative part. According to the definition of agency as a potential to act, the plants are being transformed into legitimate agents, while the visitor is transformed into a dancer that becomes an active part of Is a Rose. This moment of transformation of the audience marks the performative shift in this piece. Plants and humans are forming a network where each part is owning a sensory system. Given that individuals of other forms, such as living plants, have their own agency, the artwork Is a Rose creates a link between the formally unequal interacting parties. There are two forms of equitability at work, the plant being equitable towards the visitor in terms of agency, as well as the surveillant plant being equitable to a technological device. Augmenting physical, tangible bodies with digital means additionally opens questions of surveillance and also alludes to systems such as Foucault's panopticon.
The software implementation was carried out in an iterative development process focusing on the two main aspects, the detection of movement of plants and the deformation of the computer-generated sphere. An Azure Kinect infrared depth sensor is used for detection of movement by applying basic image processing operations of the depth image, such as thresholding and calculating difference between two images. After the initial setup, a supervising operator marks the position of each plant in the depth image and defines clipping planes. During startup, the system automatically gathers noise data for each plant to determine individual threshold values for each plant. A plant is detected as moving when the previously determined noise threshold for a specific plant is exceeded. The deformation of the computer-generated sphere is done in the 3D real-time engine Unity 3D. The three-dimensional sphere is procedurally generated by subdividing an icosahedron multiple times. The geometry is rendered with a custom-built shader that creates the impression of red LEDs with 5 discrete levels of light emission. Multiple invisible deformers move on the surface of the sphere and deform its mesh with a distance-dependent, smooth-step modulated multi-octave Perlin noise with individual parameters for each deformer. The interaction produces shapes of natural stones. The strength of deformation of each deformer is controlled by the strength of detected movement of a corresponding manually assigned plant. As the installation is intended to be exhibited at different locations, remote monitoring and maintaining of the application was required. This is done using a remote desktop software and plain text configuration files that allow to examine the system status at any time.
The work Is a Rose was realized in 2019 and premiered at Baumwollspinnerei Leipzig from November 2019 till January 2020. It was also shown at Tanzhaus NRW in Düsseldorf, at the festival Tombe d'Image, and at the gallery Prisca Pasquea in Cologne from January till May 2020. Thank you now very much for listening to the presentation of our installation Is a Rose, and we would really like to hear your opinions and love to get in touch with you.